So what's going on YouTube? It's Unger to the Max here. A salute to you. And have you ever wondered why are the St. Louis Blues around? Well, let me explain. The St. Louis Blues came into the NHL because of the Chicago Blackhawks. That's right. The St. Louis Blues' biggest rival in the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks, helped bring the Blues into existence. In 1967, the NHL went through its first expansion, bringing in notable teams like the Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Los Angeles Kings, and most importantly, the St. Louis Blues. But at first, it didn't look like St. Louis was going to get a team at all, because it came down to either St. Louis or Baltimore. However, the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks at the time, Arthur Wirtz, and the owner of the Detroit Red Wings, James Norris, had an old arena in St. Louis called the Checker Dome, not Checker Dorm. I don't know what a Checker Dorm is. And they wanted to get rid of it. So for $4 million, the St. Louis Blues came into existence. And now, of course, the Blues and Blackhawks cannot stand each other. And since I am a Blues fan, I absolutely hate the Chicago Blackhawks. Ugh. I hate the Blackhawks. If I were ever to go to a Blackhawks Blues game, would I ever wear Blackhawks stuff? Absolutely not. No. I am wearing St. Louis Blues stuff all day. Oh, and by the way, who's the defending Stanley Cup champion? That's right, the St. Louis Blues. And guess who we beat in the Stanley Cup final? The team I hate most from the Atlantic Division, the Boston Bruins. Which brings me to my next point. Have you ever noticed that Boston seems to love being involved in rivalries, no matter what sport it is, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, baseball? The city of Boston loves being involved in rivalries and loves forming those rivalries with other teams and cities. Here's some notable Boston rivalries, in my opinion. For hockey, the Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe the Columbus Blue Jackets. I am a diehard Blue Jackets fan, and I want to purchase all of the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs on iTunes, except for one game. Round 2, Game 6, Bruins at Blue Jackets. Because that's the game where the Bruins eliminated the Blue Jackets. But not just eliminated us. No, they shut us out 3-0. And I literally cried after the Blue Jackets lost that game. So, I want to see Bruins Blue Jackets become a rivalry. I really do. But since Sergei Bobrovsky, Matt Duchene, and Artemi Panarin are all gone, Duchene went to the Predators, Bobrovsky went to the Panthers, and Artemi Panarin went to that team that plays at Madison Square Garden. That team that has a certain name written diagonally in blue. Ugh, I don't even want to say their name. But for this, I will. The New York Rangers. Oh, we're the New York Rangers. We're amazing. You haven't done anything since 1994. You did not belong in the 2014 Stanley Cup final against the Kings. Ha! Hey, Rangers fans. I don't care that this chant is dead. I'm still saying it anyway. 40 years! If you're a true Rangers fan, you know what that is. And you know that gets under your skin a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. But speaking of New York, Boston, New York. Red Sox, Yankees. Is there any rivalry more iconic in baseball than Red Sox Yankees? No, I would argue not. 2003 ALCS, 2004 ALCS, two of the best series I've ever seen. You know, the walk-off home run by Aaron Boone that sent the Yankees to the World Series, where they promptly lost to the Florida Marlins somehow. I don't know how that happened. The 2004 ALCS, where the Red Sox would go on to play the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. And that's where Boston broke their World Series curse. St. Louis. Boston and St. Louis definitely have a rivalry. You know, Boston and St. Louis are the only cities to have met in all 4 championship games. They've met in the Stanley Cup final twice. They met in the World Series twice. They met in the Super Bowl. I believe that was Brady's first appearance in the Super Bowl. And way back in the day, when St. Louis had an NBA team, St. Louis and Boston played in the NBA Finals. I'm guessing the Celtics won that series. So even though Boston and St. Louis are not in the same conference or league, Boston is in the American League, St. Louis is in the National League, and Boston is in the Eastern Conference, St. Louis is in the Western Conference. Despite that, they still have a rivalry. I would say it's more prevalent with Blues Bruins. God, I hate saying that team's name. Ugh. Because they play each other every year. The Red Sox and Cardinals don't play each other every year. It's on rotation. One year the AL East might play the NL West. One year the AL East might play the NL Central. One year the AL East might play the NL East. So it rotates. So you're not always going to play the same National League team every year. Although, like the Pirates, I think it's the Pirates and Tigers always play each other. The Indians and Reds always play each other. The Cubs and White Sox always play each other. I think it's that the Red Sox and Phillies always play each other. So there are some National League, American League situations where 2 teams play each other every year. Anyway, again, I asked this question again. Have you ever noticed that Boston loves to be involved in rivalries? Again, no matter what sport it is, the city of Boston seems to love forming some sort of rivalry with another team and city. Prime example, Pittsburgh, the Steelers and Patriots, Penguins, Bruins. There you go. Another rivalry for the Bruins. You want me to go through some of the teams that are rivals with the Bruins? Deal. The Flyers, Penguins, Canadiens, Maple Leafs, maybe the Blue Jackets. Still not sure about that one, as I explained earlier. Who else could be a rival of the Bruins? No, not Vancouver, despite them burning down their city after Game 7 of the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, Game 7. That was your own fault, Vancouver. Yeah. Let's see, who else could be considered a rival? Chicago, I could consider a rival of the Bruins. Yeah. I would argue hockey has the best rivalries. Because if there's a rivalry, you're going to know it. Because there's going to be, like, fights all over the place. Like, think about this. February 9th, 2011. In TD Garden. Canadians are playing the Bruins. I believe over 200 penalty minutes were racked up in that game. And then, to further escalate things, when they played each other later up at the Bell Center in Montreal, Zdeno Chara comes in and just hammers Max Pacioretty. I think he broke his neck or something. And the NHL did not suspend Zdeno Chara. And you can imagine how Canadians fans felt about that. They actually called the police and tried to get them to press charges against Zdeno Chara. Do I think that's a little extreme? Yes. Do I understand it though? Yes, I do. I mean, you have two passionate fan bases. I mean, way back in the day, when you wanted to go to your locker room as the visiting team, you had to go through the Bruins bench. And Montreal, I forget which player it was, but somebody from Montreal literally took a punch at the Bruins player as they were going to their locker room, and that started a brawl in the hallway. Similar to Malice in the Palace. But I think the brawl in the hallway between the Canadians and Bruins was better. But, yeah. It just seems like Boston loves to involve themselves in rivalries. The Patriots, they're rivals with the Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, Steelers, Colts. I would even argue they're rivals with the Giants. Yeah. Pretty much everybody in the league hates them, and rightfully so. I mean, how many of their Super Bowls are legit? You know, that's hard to say. Because, you know, they're cheaters. So, to me, that delegitimizes some of their Super Bowls. I know I'm going to get a certain Patriots YouTuber commenting about this video, but whatever. Yeah. Do I think the Patriots legitimately have 6 Super Bowls? No, I do not. The Steelers are the only team who legitimately have 6 Super Bowls. Now, speaking of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is another city that seems to love generating and being involved in rivalries. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, back in the day, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, although Cleveland fans still think there's a rivalry between the Browns and Steelers. And even though I'm a Browns fan, maybe the rivalry is being reignited because of the whole, brawl at the end of the Thursday night game in Cleveland, and then Freddie Kitchens wearing the Pittsburgh Started shirt and all that. But overall, I don't think there's a rivalry between the Browns and the Steelers, because the Steelers are consistently near the top of the division. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. No, 3. 3 Super Bowls. Won 2 of them. Although Super Bowl 40, not sure how legitimate that one is. Not because the Steelers cheated, but because of some of the calls made in that game by the refs. But, some games you can say, oh, we lost this game because of the refs. Other games, you can't really say that. Not saying the Steelers won because of calls made by the refs, but there were definitely some questionable calls made in that game. But again, there are questionable calls made in every game. Anyway, Pittsburgh loves to be involved in rivalries. Cincinnati, Baltimore. When the Steelers and Ravens get together, I need to find a way to watch that game. Especially when the Steelers had Troy Polamalu on defense and the Ravens had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Oh, those were great games. And they battled for the AFC Championship. Oh my God. I feel like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this rivalry. There was blood drawn. When the Steelers made their run to Super Bowl 43, they had to beat the Ravens not once, but twice to get there. Twice. In Week 17, they had to play at Baltimore, and I think the winner of that game won the AFC North. And then, in the AFC Championship game, the Steelers and Ravens hooked up again. So, and Browns fans are like, the Ravens are the old Browns. To me, They're not, though, because the Ravens are when the Browns moved to Baltimore, okay? They left their name, their colors, their history, everything stayed in Cleveland. So, essentially, the Ravens are an expansion team. So, I don't totally see what the problem is that the Browns have with the Ravens. I don't totally see it. Sorry, but I don't. So, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, punch that like button like a UFC fighter and punch that subscribe button. Until next time, this is Unger to the Max signing off with a salute to you. And tonight, it's Canadiens Bruins. Go watch it. You never know what's going to happen with these two teams.